My name is Nicola Rose, and I was one of the 18 girls that was given the opportunity to form the new girls' choir there to run alongside the boys' choir that had been there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And there were 18 of us aged between 8 and 12. I was 9 when I went away to boarding school to Salisbury Cathedral School, having been living in St Albans prior to that. So it was a big change, but all I ever remember it being was an exciting time and really full of opportunities and learning and friendships that were formed then, which have taken us through our whole lives. We're all very close still, because when you are living with people aged 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, you obviously form very close bonds with people. We had so many opportunities, and the structure that was given to us was never strict, but it was just what we did. So there was always practice, our own personal practice scheduled in. Unfortunately, that hasn't carried on with me throughout my life, but those things that the school had to put in place for us, they'd never had any girls boarding in the school before. Everything was new to the staff, to the staff in the cathedral, our headmaster at the school. For the boys already in the choir, I always wonder what that must have felt like when suddenly 18 girls just appeared, and there was loads of press and newspaper articles and television programmes and so much hype around that, and as there should have been, because it was groundbreaking. And it was all thanks to Kitty Reid, who had a brother in the choir at the time, John Reid. And John was, I think, about 11 or 12, and Kitty had written to a certain Jim Will Fix It to see if she could sing with the boys' choir and to see if she could have the same opportunity. She wanted it to be fixed that she could sing with them, knowing that she would never be able to. And so that happened, and it went, I think, on television. And it was on the way back from that Richard Seal started to think, well, why can't this happen? And then I think that was the beginning, perhaps, of the momentum that then carried through until 1991, when it happened to just arrive at such a lucky time for all of us. Singing in that cathedral was absolutely incredible, as you can imagine. And initially we didn't sing a great deal because we had to start from scratch. But by the time I left, we were singing all sorts of places and all the services, sometimes joint with the boys, lots of the time by ourselves. So it starts to kind of split and divide the workload as well, which means you can have different choirs doing different things. And also things like becoming a head chorister or a deputy head chorister, and being given the opportunity to be a mentor and an inspiration to the younger choristers, the probationers. It sets all of that up for later in life. Also things like page turning for David Halls on that amazing Willis organ, aged 10, 11, things like that you would never get the opportunity to do, especially if you weren't coming from a musical background where that was an option for people. And we used to have lots of fun as well. We were in a school right next to the cathedral, so we had to walk back and forth. And when we weren't playing sports or in the choir and practicing, then we were able just to roam free around the school. And it was such a happy time, very innocent, happy time. And the only sad thing was that we had to finish when we were 13, and that meant that everyone had to go to different schools, and lots of people went off to continue their music and very much still are doing their music in one way or another. But it teaches you so many skills for life, not only musically, I think, but also how to behave, how to be, how to respect the music that you're singing, how to go and sing in concerts as professionals. You're treated as a professional from the age of 9 or 10, but in the right way as well. And that's a very fine balance for the people in charge to try and gauge. And they did that so brilliantly at Salisbury. And I have absolutely no doubt that I wouldn't be where I am today without that start in life. And for that, we are all eternally grateful. And actually, when Richard Seal had his funeral, lots of ex-choristers went back to sing. And then there was later a memorial concert for him as well. And everybody has sort of rallied around during those times because it was just such a life-changing and very special time. And looking back on it, you recognise different things now about it. But at the time, it was just lots of fun. And we did lots of singing. And that's what we did all day, every day, as well as playing instruments and playing in all these different orchestras and groups. It must have been challenging for the boys, the current boys who were there. I always wonder about that because they were already established and suddenly this was a big change and a big shift. And without a doubt, there are differences, of course, not just physically with boys and girls, but emotionally as well. And that had to be managed. And I think that was probably a much bigger job than we will ever realise for the people who were the house parents, headmaster, and those in charge of our pastoral care as well. But what a life-changing opportunity that was for all of us, and memories I'll never, ever, ever forget as well, which will just live on, like our first rehearsal that we ever had, when none of us knew what to do, really. Some of us sang in a school choir, but I can't imagine what that was like for Dr. Seal, that very first moment when we were all together in the song school about to sing our first evensong music.